Hey everybody, Bob Doyle here. Well, I am wildly excited about this particular webinar, conversation, whatever you want to call this, we're about to have with Andy Shaw about worry. And so I've made a very bold promise today, didn't I? I said we're going to teach you how to eliminate worry. Eliminate worry. Can you even imagine? I could not possibly have imagined that. What I want to tell you, and by the way, you're going to see Cody the dog from time to time, so just now that's out on the table. You see a dog, you know why, because he's in my lap. Otherwise, uh, so here, about a year ago, uh, I was coming to the ends of a 2-year divorce process. If you've ever been through that, right? So I was already sort of a person who was in my head a lot and, kind of had some stress around various things. It was just kind of how I learned to be as I was growing up. My mother, very nice person, wonderful lady. However, I did kind of tend to learn to kind of expect the worst in situations. I'm not exactly sure when that happened, but it was just something that the wiring that happened in my head. And and that was just every day. So now put me in a really super stressful situation, probably one of the most stressful situations you can come up against. And I was a wreck. Now, I've been teaching the law of attraction for 12 years. I know all about all these different release techniques. I should have been able to manage this, right? That should have, because I had all the tools. I had all the knowledge. Like I knew logically, hey, what's the deal? Visualize or something. But when you're in the throes of it, as you may know, if you're on this particular call, there's something about the idea of getting rid of worry that enticed you here because it can take over your life. It can ruin your life. And that's what was happening to me. 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, every morning. Just wake up. It didn't matter the mood I was going in to sleep. It didn't even matter what the reality of my situation was. I would just wake up and it was time to panic. And it truly felt like I had no control over it. It felt like, well, of course I'm going to worry about this. It's a stressful situation because what if, what if, what if, what if? So in my mind, worry was logical. And in fact, I think some of the programming I had was that if you don't worry about something that could happen, well, you're being irresponsible or you're denying reality, whatever it was. That was how I was wired. And the idea of not worrying, well, I loved the idea of not worrying, but in terms of a reality, having it be a reality, I was like, well, no, because my brain, I'm logical. I'm a smart guy. That means I must worry. That was seriously my thought process. Okay. So, and maybe you can relate to that. I mean, if you're an intelligent person, you look at the situation and you go, oh, well, this could go this way, and that's not going to be fun. So I'm going to worry about it. Just my way of being. And I know that it's the way of being for a lot of people because I started researching worry. I was looking for like the silver bullet. I was like, what can I do? Because I wanted my next book to be about, I'm going to knock this one out, I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to be the anti-worry guy. Didn't happen. So, a year ago, this book comes across my desk, Bug-Free Mind by Andy Shaw. Actually, 2 books. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And to be quite transparent, it was all about, they wanted me to share this work with you. And I said, great. And there was so much, and my schedule was so crazy that I really couldn't dig into it to actually go through all of it before I shared it. But I did say, well, I'm going to at least skim it before I tell you about it. And I started skimming, and I'm reading the first couple of chapters, and I'm going, wow, I love the way this guy thinks because he's not a woo-woo guy, and neither am I. I mean, I love the woo-woo, but that's not how I do my thing. And I'm wanting to appeal to people's sensibilities and logic and not have them have to take these metaphysical leaps of faith or whatever. And so I'm reading his story and I'm reading how he's talking about things. I'm going, oh my God, this is great. I wish I could spend more time. Now, cut to, now I meet him. A little bit after this and sharing it with you, had the opportunity to meet him and a bunch of other people in our industry. And just having the conversation with this guy, I was like, okay, he's the real deal. I mean, you never know. You just never know. You hear about, you read about, and then you go meet the person, and it may be, like I've been disappointed before, but not this time. This time, first of all, he's so generous with his time. I remember one of the first conversations we had, I mean, and there were people everywhere. I mean, everybody wanted to talk to him. But he gave me all this, personal attention. We're talking about things. I'm talking about my situation, and just so freaking grounded and just made so much sense. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people in the personal development space, and because I talk about the law of attraction, I do meet some woo-woo people, people who have conversations and use languaging that I can get, I believe it and all of that, but it's kind of a disconnect, because it's like, well, your spirit, this and the light and the whatever, right? I'm not discounting that, but when you're really in the midst of some stuff, you want something that you can really hang on to, right? I mean, you don't want to be you just want an answer, and you want to know that the person talking to you knows what he's talking about, or she is talking about, and that they can help you. And that is what I really got from Andy right away. So we spent a little bit of time together talking about this and that. I remember one time having a conversation with him in the lobby of this hotel, having aha moments, just like, God, I should know this, that kind of thing. But so anyway, then I go home and I'm like, all right, well, I'm getting into this material. It's just like, now I've met the guy, I've seen the impact that he's had with various people, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not, I'm going to do this. So I actually had the audio version, because I'm just too lazy to do this all the time. But I was listening. I'm listening, and I was one of the things he talks about is you're going to need to reread these chapters, and I'm going, wow, there's so much here, I don't have time to reread. However, you listen to a chapter and you go, okay, I got to get that again. There were, like every other sentence, I'm having these breakthroughs, and it's just too much to process in one sitting. So I'm listening and listening. So finally, we get to just chapter 6. Now I don't even know how many chapters there are and all this stuff. Many, a lot more than 6. But at 6, okay, dog going on floor. At chapter 6, it's all about worry, and he will never have to worry again. And I'm like, get out of here, because what I figured is that it's going to make sense to you. You're going to, you'll hear it one way, and I'm nodding, but then I had to listen again and again. I think I probably have listened to that chapter 5, 6, 7 times easily, because it's so impactful, and every time I listen, I get something else out of it. So I promise I'm going to let you meet Andy here in just a second, and I'm going to let him tell you his story, how he came into all of this. Look, here's the deal. I know a lot of times when people do webinars, there's information, and then we sneak up with this, so I hear you have this offer. Well, you already know there's a Bug-Free Mind. I've told you about it a couple of times, and I'm saying just go get it. There's a button underneath this. Don't waste any time. You can go buy it while we're talking about worry, okay? This is one of those things where I don't need to do anything. I'm just saying, go get this program, go get this package. I'm going to have Andy talk about everything that's included. I'm saying I don't even care what's included. I don't care what it costs. I don't care any of it. Go get it. It'll freaking change your life. Just before I bring him on, I'm going to share just a couple of things that other people have said about him. And I echo every single one of these things. I'm sorry, I don't have oh, wait, I have them right here. Okay. So Jeff Beatty says, I've read many personal development books and have learned much from them, but I find that with Andy's approach, things just click into place. His blunt, no BS approach is fascinating in the way he reveals and unravels the wrongs that we have either been brought up to believe are true, or what we have just accepted as the norm. And that was my very first impression as I'm reading the book. Another one, Andrew Leadham. What many other so-called gurus promise, not me, of course, talking about other ones, Andy actually delivers. Clear, simple, no-nonsense, practical steps to building the life and wealth you always wanted. It's this simple. I have found no one better at showing the way to get wealthy that anyone can follow. Again, I couldn't agree more. It goes on. I really want you to get that this guy knows what he's doing. I've immersed myself in all of the motivation and mindset books for the last few years, but Andy has managed to come up with a laser-focused approach that cuts right to the heart of how you actually make all that stuff work for you. So I'm really impressed. The value of this material will be limitless. It goes on. I'm not sure where to start, Andy. I've read Think and Grow Rich about 50 times, The Secret, Abraham Hicks, and your books have made me think more deeply than any other. This is loads of feedback I look forward to giving. So, and there's many of those. And it's because you know immediately, you agree with this after one chapter. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Andy Shaw. Hey, Andy.
Thank you very much for having me on, Bob, and for probably the most impressive introduction I think I've ever heard.
Well, you deserve it, sir. I promise. If people aren't introducing you at least that well, they're falling short. So, so that if people, because you know, before a year ago, I had never heard of you. I didn't know what was going on, but you were out there doing stuff. I want people to get a sense of how you came, basically how you came to write a bug-free mind anyway, you know, in the first place, just a little bit so they have some context, and then we'll get into specifically the worry thing.
Sure, sure. How much do you want me to cover?
Every single set. I want you to tell your story in real time. So if it was 5 years, it was 5 years. No, you know, just enough so that people understand, you know, kind of who you are and what you're up to.
I was very fortunate. My uncle, at the age of 13, he set me off in the world in the right way. He told me I was going to become a millionaire, and this was like fantastic to me. And so I went off. I set off on my journey, and went into various different things. My mum wouldn't let me go straight into business. She forced me to go and become a cabinet maker. So I went and learned a trade because I was very good with my hands. And then I went into business. I think 23. I was my first business, and we built that up. And we had about somewhere between 100, 150 employees. Got to about 33, 34, something like that, years old, and suddenly realised I wasn't rich. And thought, I've got to do something about this because I'm supposed to be this millionaire. So I sat down, figured out how to get rich. I thought, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make my money this way. And I set myself this ridiculous goal of being a millionaire in 2 years. And I went out, and this is when I say a millionaire, it's in sterling a millionaire. So that's actually 2 million. It was $2 million at the time. And so I set myself this goal. 6 months later, just over 6 months later, I was a millionaire. 2 weeks after that, I was a multi-millionaire. And within that first year, I'd made, I don't know, probably in the region of $20 million, something like that. It was a real roller coaster ride. Success showed up amazingly fast. We went from everything I touched. We couldn't get it wrong. I sold out of the other businesses because we were making so much money in the new stuff I was going into that there was literally no point in being in them. And we cut our employees down to nothing. You know, there was only a few of us, it was a handful. And we went into various other things. And then eventually somebody said to me, told me about we should be selling the information, what I've done to get rich and that sort of thing. So what do I want to do for that? What do I want to do that for? And eventually they sold it to me, and I realised that it was easier to write a book teaching people how to do it and sell a £20 book than and at the time we had a $75,000 course, a service we were selling. So if I sold a $40 book, it was easier to sell than the $75,000. So I wrote that, became a best-selling author of that, you know, almost by mistake. That went on to become the UK's best ever selling book in real estate. Made another fortune from that, and then it was going great, and then all of a sudden, oh no, we were doing other businesses as well. It was ridiculous, and we built one business that went from zero to being worth around $35 million in under 3 years. It was true. Everything we touched worked, and then 2008 came along, and it didn't go according to plan. It went really, really, really wrong. And back end of 2008 started going wrong. By about March 2009, I realised that this was likely to not work anymore. This was probably going to fail. And you know, the year before it was I'd made $2 million at least every year for, you know, it was just spare money sort of thing. And this year I'd made zero so far. I was 3 months into the year and I'd made nothing. And my mindset started to melt down. It was, and all of a sudden I started to worry, and I'd never worried before in my entire life. And this was you know, it was like, what was going on? All these, exactly as what Bob was saying, all of these what ifs were coming in. Well, what if that doesn't work? Well, what if that doesn't work? What if that doesn't work? And all of a sudden, things stopped working. So I thought, well, this is no problem. I'll just go and make money in one of the many other ways I can make money. And everything I went and did didn't work. And so my mindset had changed, and all of a sudden, one day, I just suddenly realised that I was no longer in control of my mind. My mind was in control of me. I was out of control of it. And I'd never experienced this before because I'd always had total silence in my mind whenever I wanted to do anything. I'd never noticed. But But previously to this, I'd become fascinated about why I could succeed and why other people struggled. And I'd always been asking myself the question. And all of a sudden, when I saw the mess that was going on inside my mind, when I was trying to get myself out of trouble, that all of a sudden I realised that people couldn't succeed because they had this mess going on in their minds. And so the second I saw that, it was, that changed my life, that moment. So I thought, right, okay, I now know what's the problem. What's the problem? I can fix this. So and I spent 3 weeks fixing myself. And then I just got, I thought to myself, right, well, let's just surround myself in personal development material. Let's get my mind straight and that sort of thing. And I took my mind to a level that, I just intended to fix it. But what I didn't realise was I took it way past that, because there is literally no limit to how much better you can think. So, of course, I focused purely on it, and I was entering the most serene point of my life that I've ever been in. It was absolutely wonderful. Yet my financial world was crashing down around my ears. I was living in another country, having to move back to the UK because my father was very, very ill. He died the following year. And so my mum was having to move out of her home because I bought her home as a gift, and they were now evicting because we couldn't afford to pay for it anymore. So I was having to try and hold that together. There was everything going on, but I was in the most perfect, wonderful, serene point I've ever been in my life. It was pure bliss. So anyway, the inevitable happened. I went bankrupt. I lost my fortune. But because of being a little bit clever, where I've set the thing up, and I've got a very wonderful partner who doesn't happen to be in the room at the moment, but she sits next to me, and I built 2 fortunes. So I built a fortune for me, and I built a fortune for her. Her fortune wasn't as big as mine, but then again, it was a lot more stable. So my fortune went, and hers remained. So I was 2010. I came into it, and I was sitting down, going, right, okay, well, you don't need to work. I didn't need to work because I was financially free, but I didn't have a lot of money. We weren't living like the kings we were. We were just okay. And I sat there, and people asked me, Andy, could you, because I still had a loyal following of people going, please will you teach us how to make money? And I thought, I can't teach people how to make money. I've just lost, 40-50 million dollars or whatever it is. It's just ridiculous. I can't talk to people about that. And but they were all also asking me, how could you handle these situations? How could you not worry? How could you not be afraid? How could you cope with that? And I said, well, I can tell you if you want. It's because you're all thinking. You haven't got any structure to your thinking, and I can tell you. And so I just started to write, and there was no charge or anything. I was just writing articles, sending them out to people, and I was getting this feedback, going, this is amazing. This is incredible. I've never heard anything like it. And sure enough, I was at the time looking for what I was going to do with the rest of my life, and I was getting all this feedback saying, this is wonderful. Thank you for changing my life. You've just stopped my divorce. I mean, the person you mentioned there, Jeff, he sent me an email. He says, you saved my marriage, and that sort of thing. It was, I was getting all these things coming in. It was like, this feels really good. Yeah. I like it really good. It's nice, right? And I thought, well, is this a worthy investment of my time, that sort of thing. And I thought, right, well, if I'm going to do this, I've got to do something different. I've got to do something that's never been done before in this particular space. Because I'd always been fascinated. Well, I could pick up a success book. I mean, I'm sure you can see that I've got stacks of them behind me. Well, I can pick up a success book, read it, and go, oh, yeah, no problem at all. Go and use that, go and make money out of that, no problem at all. But other people pick it up, and then they'd struggle. And that always fascinated me. And of course, once I realised that where the problem was, and I knew how to fix it, I sat there, and one day I just sat there and realised, and all of a sudden this wave of responsibility came over me that I realised I had the answer people were looking for, and it was sitting inside my head, and I got the solution, because you know what I mean. Everybody's looking for it, and I had it sitting in my head, and I thought, I think I've actually got to do this now, and that was it. Responsibility.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is an amazing story, and I'm sure that people are listening, going, man, I wish. How does he do it? Obviously, you've got the process. You wrote about it. You just talked about it. So if you want to be able to think like that, go get a bug-free mind, for crying out loud. I mean, really, I knew immediately that this was some of the best, if not the best, most complete overall personal development, because if things are going wrong in your life, generally speaking, it's going to be because something's wrong with your thinking, right? Because your thinking drives you into action or inaction or whatever. So if your brain is not working correctly, if it has bugs, we're referring obviously to the computer terminology, where if your computer has something wrong with it, it's called a bug, and you have to go in there and fix it. Well, our brain has a gazillion bugs that we've collected over time, and it's created, this way of thinking that's extremely limited, where you get to where I was, where you think that it's good and responsible to worry. What? Okay, so that's the craziness. You guys use the term nutter, the nutter in your head or whatever, which I guess is, just means the crazy person in your head. Nutter's not. It's a cookie over here or something. I don't know. It is nutters. So it's entertaining to learn new colloquialisms.
That was the word. I never intended to leave that in the book, and I wrote it in the articles, and I was going to go back and change it, and everyone said, "You can't do that. You can't do that. You've got to leave that word in there." So I left it. But.
I agree. Don't change it. It's great. It's funny, and it's true. It really does explain. It really does describe that voice in there. So, obviously there's so many different types of bugs that we've got going on in our head, but the worry one is the one that calls near and dear to me, because it was the one I was dealing with all the time, and it really is debilitating. Now, you were saying, the worry came out of nowhere. You had never been a worrier. What do you think? I guess I got two parts to this question. What do you think introduced that? I mean, why all of a sudden did you start worrying, as opposed, when you hadn't had years of not?
It was really, standing on the precipice of, I was a lot of people were banking on what I was doing and investments and that sort of thing. So it was more concern for them. I mean, for myself, no, not so much, because I always had been able to generate wealth. So therefore, it wasn't that much of a big deal from that point of view. It was more from the point of view of, right, well, okay, these people are relying on me, and that was the worry, because then it was, how can I fix this? Because I'd always been able to fix everything, and then when they came along and changed the rules, it was that was a wonderful lesson, brilliant life lesson. I wouldn't change it for a second, because I was in a position where something can wrong. And sometimes things are out of your control. There's nothing you can do. So the only thing you can do is focus on what's in your mind. I was, as an example, I saw a video of a lady who was in the death camps in World War II, and they said to her, the interviewer said, "How did you cope? How did you cope with all of the pain and the anguish and the stress and the worry every day? How did you get up in the morning? How did you cope?" She said, "Oh, there was always something funny going on in the camps." And she wouldn't allow the pain, the torture, and all that sort of thing into her mind. And that's really where I'd always been. To me, it's all about a benefit. I'd always looked at, people used to say to me right from an early age, "Well, aren't you worried?" It's like, well, I just couldn't understand what the benefit was. I couldn't get it. Because to me, it was, I don't understand why you guys want to worry. It was so against the grain, because I describe myself as a kid. I've still got a child's mind where it comes to that sort of thing, because it's untarnished, and I had that very brief period where my mind went like how the majority of people's minds are, and so I got to see the world from the eyes of somebody who's done that. And because my frustration was, this as a success teacher, your frustration is, here's something that works. I know it works. I give it to somebody. They can't do it, and that used to wind me up. It was like, well, no, hang on. There's got to be better ways. There's got to be ways that I can get this message through, so that people can do it. And then when I got to see the world through another person's eyes, if you like, it was surreal. It was like, oh, I can fix this. now I've seen what the problem is. I can fix it.
It's almost like not your mindset and how you approach things, and not with just the default. Like, you couldn't understand why people would worry. I mean, that's a freaking superpower, Andy. To go through and not be a worrier, and not analyze this thing the way, because we're so inundated with negativity and negative messages, and here's what can go wrong in your life. I mean, all the time we're hearing about it. Now, you must have seen that out in the world, right? I mean, heard the news, heard people have bad news. Is that correct?
Absolutely. It was everywhere. But I had it everywhere I'd ever been, my business partner, you know, when we were in business together, he used to describe me as Joe Cool. He said, nothing worries you. He said, how can you handle, you know, we'd have huge financial issues or something like that. We have problems left, right, and centre. He says, you just handle it. You know, how do you do it? And I said, well, there is no benefit in worrying. I always look at, I mean, there's a truth that I've always bought into, if you like. It's not something that I really bother thinking about, you know, because you've seen what I teach now. It's not. It's very easy, isn't it? It's not. I don't do things that are hard. I don't do things that have got to take lots of effort. All it is I stick a signpost in your mind and go, when this comes back again, you've already been down the horrible road. So now the nice road is this way, and you go, oh yeah, the nice road's that way. I can go that way. That's all I do. But I did so many, I don't know, we had so many different problems come up that we just coped with them. We just, you know, it was just easy. But my partner always said, well, how can you not worry? And to me, it was all about benefits. But the truth I bought into was it'll always work out the best for me, whatever happens. And I didn't realise that I lived this way until I read it in a book somewhere. Somebody said, it'll always work out for the best for you. And I thought, yeah, it always does. Yeah, I've known that for years. And I've been living it for a long, long period of time. But as soon as it was, you know, written down, because when I succeeded, I didn't know that there were books out there that taught success. I had no idea. You could go and read how to be successful in a book, or buy somebody's product that taught you how to do this. You know, I had reading beaten out of me by the school education system. So of course I went and succeeded and made, you know, tens of millions before I read my first book. Think and Grow Rich. No, Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first book I ever read.
Wow.
But, it was, you know, I was already extremely wealthy before I picked that up. But to me, it's always worked out for the best. So I've always bought into that, and I've always found that whatever happens, and you know, I've had massive issues, and it's always worked out for the best. Whenever I look at it, and let's say something horrible comes along, you know, something horrible comes up, and it looks really, really bad. I look at it and think, right, well, how could this work out for the best for me? That's really the first thought comes up. How could this work out for the best for me? So it's very, 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 very simple. You know, so the problem. So instead of the worry, it's replaced. I don't, you know, there is no worry there because I'm thinking, how could this work? Not necessarily how will it work out for the best for me. How could it work out for the best for me? I'm not looking for the answer. I'm not looking to judge it. I'm just looking to consider it. I'm not looking to go, well, let's make a definite plan. I'm just open. I'm just sitting there looking at going like a kid would do. How would this work? Yeah. And so the problem is we've been programmed as we get older to need to go black or white on something. We need to make a judgment on everything that's said, everything that we see, everything we pick up. We need to have a decision. We need to be left or right of it. There's no. You can't just look at it. You know, you can't just ponder on it. And something Einstein said a long time ago. Obviously, a long time ago because he's been dead a long time.
Yes.
But something Einstein said was, he said, I don't consider myself any more intelligent than other people. I just stay with the problem longer, and that's it. All I do is I sit there. You know, I used to think, well, why can I succeed and why can't they? Why do personal development books work for me and why don't they work for everybody else? Because I know the stuff's brilliant because I'm reading it going, oh, this is fantastic, right? And then I recommend it to somebody and they can't make it work. Yeah. So I think, well, what's going on? And all I did was I just sat there pondering on it for a longer period of time. So when a worry comes up or something like that, the first thought is, how is this a potential problem that there is no worry because worry is of no benefit to me. And I'm a benefits-driven creature, like the dogs the dogs there. You know, they don't worry, do they? You know?
No, not that I can tell.
Yeah. He hasn't fed me yet. Could be the only thing. Well, maybe he's forgotten to feed me. But they don't worry.
Or take him outside. He is waiting for that. But he's probably not worrying. Okay, so much was said there, and I want to make sure that people catch it because first of all, you gave a wonderful first step in terms of when you are faced with a situation and you go to that worry mode. instead of trying to figure out the solution, you imagine, well, how could this work out? That, from a law of attraction point of view, that is energetically way, way different than stressing about it and staying in your head. When you say, how could this work out, now you open yourself up to infinite possibility. You're not attached to any of your own stuff about how am I going to figure this out. Oh, I never figured it out before. Oh, this is all your limiting stuff is in your head when you are trying to use your own internal resources, your experience, which clearly helped get you there in the first place. Why would you try to solve a problem from that place when you could say, how could? It's just, I see it as just a totally different part of your brain at work, right? A more creative.
You're speaking to your subconscious mind, because you're saying, right, okay, how could this work out? So you're giving your subconscious mind solutions. You and I know that all we need to do is provide it with possible solutions, and it'll go and figure out which is the best one, right? So all we need to do is offer solutions, and we don't need to, because if we look at it and go, well, what about we could do it this way? But then again, if that happens, well, that won't work out. Well, why shoot the dream in the foot?
Yeah.
There is no need to do that. Let's just consider the possibilities. I had less than 10 days ago, I thought, no, I think it's time for me to finally expand my limited number of people I work with to get some real proper employees, because I've avoided that like nothing. I've got a lot of outsourcers and that sort of thing. And I sat there and I thought, right, okay, well, what people do we need? And I just sat there and thought, well, we need this sort of person, we need that sort of person. But I'm saying need, but I'm doing it in a very, very relaxed way. When somebody says they need something, most of the time their state of mind is, I need it, but I doubt I'm going to get it. Whereas I'm sitting there going, right, well, I need this sort of person, but I'm expecting them to come to me. Well, in the last 4 or 5 days, I designed 5 people, just considering that who I could possibly need. I've had 5 people, perfect people, come to me, right? And I'm not looking to do it right now, but they've just shown up because I've opened up my mind to the possibility. And that's
the freaking law of attraction at work, ladies and gentlemen. It's that whole. It should be that effortless. I mean, people talk about, and describe him as an amazing manifester, and you can see why that would happen. If your brain is bug free, then all that resistance and stuff isn't slowing down actually attracting what you need. So, like in his example, I need all this help. There's almost like a, because if I don't, bad things are going to happen, right? As opposed to, like with Andy, it's more like you're just placing an order. Okay, I'm going to need one of these. I'm going to need one of these. And allowing the universe to deliver, as opposed to going, oh my God, I need this, and if I don't get this, it's it's going to be bad, or I'm going to attract the wrong person because I always do, and all the noise, all the noise that comes from those bugs. What I'm seeing here really is that when it comes down to it, and this is something that I know, but again, when you're in your stuff, it's really hard to implement. When it comes down to it, it's a choice. Would you say that? Would you call it a choice?
Everything. There's only 2 things in life you don't have a choice about. One, that you're going to die, and then the other choice is you're going to have to live every day until you die. Everything else in life is a choice. We can choose how we feel about any given situation. Now, right now, people may think that, but that's unrealistic. You've got this much pain, and when you were going through that much pain, you couldn't choose either. That's right, because I was unconscious at that point, and I wasn't aware that I had the choice. I'd lost the ability to do it. Whereas once you regain control of your thinking with the mind control techniques that I teach in the first few sections, once you've got control of those, then you can now silence the noise in your head. Once you can silence the noise in your head, now it's like, right, well, I have a choice. How do I feel about this? How do I want to feel about this? Well, I'm feeling bad about it. Well, I don't want to feel bad. Well, okay, well, I choose not to feel bad then. That's it. It's a choice. Once it's complete control, and it's very, very simple. The problem is it sounds too simple to be believable, doesn't it? It can't be that simple, because if it wasn't that simple, everybody would be doing it. No, the problem is everybody's been taught, everybody gets taught, we all were, what to think. It's like you said with your mum. She, lovely lady, but she also taught you to worry. Yeah? So that's what to think, right? Because how to think would be, which is what I teach, all I do is teach people how to think. I don't teach people what to think. So this is why I get so many students from every religion there is, because I'm not saying people, oh well, this is right or that's right or whatever. All I'm saying is right. We all have to use our brain. We just need to know how to use it to get the accurate result, because it's all about accurate thinking. You know, I describe to people my second greatest gift I've given my children is accurate thinking, because you know, first one being love, obviously, but the main point is accurate thinking enables you to make the right choice in every situation.
But I realize when reading your stuff, I mean, inaccurate thinking is like 99% of the population.
That's right. Yeah.
It's a huge undertaking to go in and do this. But what's great about the way that you do things in your books and whatever is that it becomes, again, like I said at the beginning, is you're not taking any weird leaps of faith or putting trust in something you can't see. It's right in front of you. It's logical, and you just go, of course, there's a benefit. You talk about benefits. I want to expand on that a little bit, and then you alluded also to one of the first exercises you talk about in your books, and I know that you actually give those away as, you know, that the first 5 chapters people can get so they can read this anyway. So I want to talk about that because that had a huge impact on me. Talk real quick about the benefits thinking. You said you're a guy who thinks about benefits. How can we use that approach, that mindset?
Well, the first thing is you have to think about a simple way. I'll lead this in. It take so longer, but it's worth it. Everything we see, right? If we look at the stuff behind me, those bookshelves, they look static, but they're not static. They're moving. They're moving at phenomenal speed. We just can't see the speed they're moving. And when you go, and that's on the big scale, because obviously we're moving around the universe and that sort of thing. And then on the micro scale, you've got atoms in there, and they're moving. Everything's moving. And so what you've got is inside your head is these thoughts. And these thoughts are moving. And we think a thought can stand still. It's not going to harm us, but they do. A thought either helps you or harms you. And once you know that a thought either helps you or harms you, and once you have it so that you know, right, okay, well, a thought, it's like a way of describing it would be, it's like a tenant paying rent in your mind. It's taking up space in your mind. And what you have is you have a choice. So it's like, well, is this thought helping take me to where I want to go, or is this thought harming me and holding me back from getting there? Well, okay, so once you've got that basic, really, really basic thing, so it's either helping or harming. Once you know that that's going on, so a thought comes in, well, I feel really bad because, what if this happens? Well, how is this thought helping me? Well, this thought isn't helping me. Well, how it is helping me is it's helping me think about possibilities. How am I feeling about that? Well, I'm feeling bad. Right, well, that isn't helping me then. So I'm not going to feel bad. Now I'm going to look at how the possible solutions can come from this. So now I'm only going to give that side of thinking. Now, I talk to people about positive thinking, and I used to really get irritated by the way people talk positive thinking, because no, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong, guys. People say to me, "Oh, you're the most positive thinking person I've ever met." I say, "I'm not a positive thinking person at all. I just don't think negatively. There is no negative thinking. Take away negative thinking, all that's left is positive thinking. So, because positive thinking all benefits me, and negative thinking, none of it benefits me. Well, we don't need that then. So, if you remove negative thinking, you cannot but help to think positively."
Okay, hold on. So, I see. This is what I'm talking about, guys. Can you see? It's so freaking logical. It's like, you're listening, going, well, yeah. It just really makes you look at the way that you've probably spent your whole life thinking and processing and go, well, that was crazy, nutter in my head, because there is no benefit. And why would we do this? This is what I love about the program and just your approach is that you do get logically brought through this way of thinking. And I love that you said you don't teach people what to think, you teach them how to think, because that's the key. So anyway, just real logical approach to this stuff that makes it really super easy for people to implement. Okay, so that's fantastic. So these are a couple of little nuggets that have stood out for me so far. First of all, the whole thing about when a worry situation occurs, instead of thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do about this? You know, how could this work out for the best? How could this work out? Just accessing the subconscious, universal intelligence, whatever you want to call it. Again, from a law of attraction point of view, that's a totally different energetic space. This distinction of a thought either helps you or harms you. As you were talking about this, I was thinking about how much time in my life I have spent with harmful thoughts, thinking that it was the responsible way. I'm trying to come up with a solution, right? That's what you're supposed to do.
So you can come up with a solution. You can still do that, but you just don't have to feel bad about it.
Yeah.
So you can still. I sit there pondering our solution. I'm just not feeling bad about it. Right? So, but I do it. I describe it to people as a very workman-like way. So if you ever watch a workman building a house, they're never rushing. The house just gets built. Each day they come to work, they do a bit more, they go home, come back the next day, and that's how your thinking should work as well. You don't need to get het up about it, stressed and that sort of thing. You just workman style way. Right, I've got this problem. Okay, what are the potential solutions to it? How could this work out? How could this work out for the best for me? How will I look at this in 10 years' time? So take yourself. I'm a very person who lives in the now. I'm a real proponent of Eckhart Tolle's work on the power of now and that sort of thing. But you actually I actually use the future at this point. I go, well, how could this work out for the best for me? Let's see what could happen. And you're just opening your mind up to other potentials. Then all of a sudden you're not beating yourself up, because all the time you're beating yourself up, you're literally pulling yourself backwards. The problem is people think that we get very, very clever, and I see it in athletes. I was talking to my friend about an athlete earlier today, and how his mindset is absolutely perfect at the moment. I said, let's just hope he can hold it together. What hope? Let's just think he can hold it, trust he can hold it together for the next race, and then we'll see what happens from them, because his mindset afterwards will start to go downhill, because they don't know how they've got their mindset to that state. So when it starts to go wrong, like you said with yourself, when it starts to go wrong, they don't, you were automatically successful. You'd kept your natural success ability. And all of a sudden, when things started to go wrong, I'm clever. I'm an intelligent man. I should know how to solve this. What's going on? How can I not get back to it? This doesn't make sense. So then that winds you up even more, because now you're sitting there going, well, this is ridiculous. I should be able to handle this. This is nothing at all to me. And so now you're beating yourself up, and it's gradually over a period of time. You actually people learn more, and they have less ability. So it's, we learn more. We have this massive amount of intellect, and we have less ability. So if you actually trace it, and they actually have done this. They've actually done tests, scientific tests on this. How a child has got, at the age of 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, is that 98% of children are geniuses. By the time they get to 25 years old, 2% are geniuses.
Wow.
And so that trend carries on throughout life. And so people, because they age, they think we're accumulating more knowledge, more wisdom. But what happens is they can't apply it. They've lost that ability. Now, this is why they've learned just what to think. If you know how to think, what happens is everything works. Whatever you've learned becomes practical. Because all of a sudden now it's like, let's say you want to learn how to stock trade. Somebody goes and learns to trade stocks, and they can't do it because they can't place the trade. They can't push that button. They're worried about what's going to happen. What if this goes wrong? What if that happens? I'll lose more money. They can't trade. But when you know how to think, what happens? Do all of the things in a very workman style way, and then in an unemotional way, place the trade. So that's structured thinking. That's how to think, not what to think. Wow. So you can apply any what to think information you want. But we all need to. The trouble is, we were all given these brains, and none of us were taught how to use them. Some of us, got lucky, if you like, and had parents that didn't program us with the bad things. And I was extremely fortunate. I had a millionaire uncle who was a millionaire great uncle, and he was a great example to me. And he told me I was going to be a millionaire. So of course I left at the age of 13, knowing that I was going to be this millionaire. He told me I was going to be a millionaire. I was going to have a great life, and all the people I needed in my life would just come to me. I said to him, how will I know who they are? He said, don't worry, they'll have a sign on their heads. I thought, what the heck are you talking about? But I chose to believe him. And every time, I tell you, they have a sign on their heads. They come along, and it's a feeling, you know, and it's like, oh, I'm supposed to do something with this person, you know. And so it's always happened my entire life.
Wow. So, I mean, that really is. I mean, what a gift to, like, when you tell the story about your uncle saying, I mean, not many people have that. If anything, they have the opposite, right? They've got jaded parents or, you know, whatever, who have had a tough life, and they have very limiting beliefs themselves, and in the interest of protecting their child, or, you know, not setting them up for failure, they would never say anything like, you're going to be a millionaire one day. They actually instill limiting beliefs. You say, well, that's one in a million. Whatever it is, you were very lucky at a great age to have that. However, it's still just thinking. You were just given the gift of having that seed planted a little bit earlier, but we as adults can plant that seed anytime. Yeah, and we just have to keep fertilizing it, you know, and not going back. And that's, you know, again, the benefit of having a program, a structure to follow that's logical and easy to implement. I mean, that's why these books and stuff, they're so freaking life-changing. I mean, because it goes right to the very core of what we do. I want to briefly have you share, because you know, it's a great sort of diagnostic tool to see just how messed up your thinking is. When, you know, it's the foundational thing of your whole book, and you're not even supposed to go forward until you did this, and I've committed that I would do that. And that is basically, in a nutshell, and I'm going to let you elaborate on this, basically hold a positive thought for 15 seconds. Now, we hear, you know, in Abraham and all these other, you know, law of attraction, hold it for 17 seconds or whatever, but it doesn't, the number to me isn't nearly as important as just how hard it is to do that, to be able to hold a thought that is positive and makes you feel good without any wandering. I mean, I would invite anyone watching this to try this, but then they have to, actually I invite you to master it, but just even trying it the first time, you realize, well, that's pretty challenging, because right away you're assessing, it's not an easy thing. How did you, I don't know, how did you, when people, I guess, how would you coach somebody through that? Because I remember I was listening to this in the car, I was traveling around, I'm going, okay, I'm turning this off, I'm not going to do anything until I can do this. And it took me quite a while to find a thought that didn't immediately branch off into something for me to worry about.
It was, you know, when I said earlier that I was surrounding myself with material, and I can't remember. Somebody said, there was somebody in it, wasn't me who came up with that at all. I took, I've got to hold a positive thought for 15 seconds. Well, I thought, well, that'd be easy. And just started. And I managed to make, and I found a really beautiful thought I had. I think I've got a picture around here somewhere. I might have it right next to me. Oh no, it's not here. Anyway, sorry about that. I found this, I had this wonderful thought, and I'm a private pilot, or I used to be. And my son, at the age of 2, I took him in the airplane, and he had big headphones on, and he was sitting on the back seat of the plane. And I sat there, and I got this picture. And this picture was, well, it was a perfect moment in life, absolutely perfect moment. And you know, it's one of those moments where you think, you know, nothing, no matter what happens in your life, it can never be taken away from you. And so I had this wonderful thought, really, truly wonderful thought. And so I thought, right, well, I'll use that and think about that for 15 seconds. I managed about four seconds. Is all I could hold that thought for before a worry came up, or, you know, what if, or, you know, have you got to call this person, or have you done that, or, so anyway, I thought, right, okay, give it another go. And I dropped my children, we lived in Cyprus, it was about a 30-minute journey to school, and I dropped them at school, and I'm trying to get this thing working on the way back. And I drove for about 5 miles, and I just, and it wouldn't work. I couldn't manage it. I think I managed about 5 or 6 seconds, and I just went, that's it, and I pulled the car over to the side of the road, and I said, that's it. I'm not going to let me have, because I realised I wasn't the controller right now. Until you let me have my mind back for 15 seconds. That's all I want, but I'm not moving. I'm not moving on. You know, I'm not going to do any of these things I've got to do today until you give me control of 15 seconds. I knew I was at war. Right? I'd woken up to the fact that I was at war with my mind. And so I sat there, and it took me, I don't know, let's say 15 minutes, and I did it. Held it for 15 seconds. So I started the car up and drove on. on the way back, I did it again. Every minute or so, I'd hold it for another 15 seconds. And I went back, and it took me about another 10, 15 minutes to get home. By then, I'd held it about 10, 15 times, got into the house all day, all throughout the day. Every 5, 10 minutes, I'd catch myself, spend 15 seconds, and I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And in the end, it was going longer and that sort of thing. And I was up to, without too much effort, I was up to 3 to 4 minutes of being able to do it. But I couldn't really hold it for too much longer. And so then I thought, hang on a minute, I need a way to be able to hold this positive thought. 'Cause I was feeling great when I came out of these positive moments, because I was coming out and I was releasing my subconscious mind to give me the solutions to problems, because I was taking the pressure off. I wasn't needing things. And so, of course, I was coming out of these positive moments, and then all of a sudden the answer to problems would just go, plop, there it is. Or the solutions would just come to me. I was thinking, well, this is good. I'm getting more done by doing less. And I like doing less and getting more done. So I thought, right, okay, how can I expand this further? How can I take it further? And so I thought, well, okay, let's expand on that thought. Let's take that thought and let's blow it up. Let's go back there. And this, this is where time travel comes in, because with your mind, if I said to you, can you remember? It's like you just went to that lovely holiday down in Mexico. And I saw all the pictures on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. If I said to you, can you remember your favourite moment on the beach? Can you remember what it felt like being on the beach there? Can you remember?
Right.
It?
Yep.
You're there in a fraction of a second, aren't you? You're straight back there. And so you can literally, we can't time travel with our bodies, but with our minds, we can go forward into the future, we can go back into the past. And so we're there. So I went, right, okay, let's go back and look at that moment, and let's go plus and minus 2 or 3 minutes either side of that moment, and let's think about it. And so, of course, I was back there, and I felt the airport was near the sea, and I felt the sea breeze, and the smell of the salt, and there was dew on the grass and that sort of thing. So lovely smell, and there was a little mild breeze and that sort of thing, and there was a lot of planes on the airfield. Of course, this is all wrapped around this wonderful moment of seeing my son in the back of the plane.
Yep.
So of course, then all of a sudden I'd spent 3 or 4 minutes thinking about this wonderful moment. And this was fantastic. And so I thought, this is brilliant, right? Why don't I need to get this to 15 minutes. I need to get this to 15 minutes. How do I do that? And I couldn't get it past about 4.5, 5 minutes. No matter how well I thought about it, I couldn't do it. I thought, okay, how do I do this? Well, let's come up with some more moments. So I sat down and literally wrote off all of these wonderful moments I've had in my life that I could think of. And without stopping, I wrote 79 things down. And so I thought, right, well, I'm going to just read one, start with one, and then I'm just going to go to the next one and think about that, and go to the next one and think about that. And in the end, I built up this habit of gratitude that was, I'd think about at least 15 minutes of gratitude. I didn't read them all off one at a time. I just picked it up and go, that one. And I'd go and think about that moment. Next one, that one. And it would be one after another. And I'd be gone for 15, 20, 30 minutes. And, time became irrelevant because I was getting so much more done than I ever was when I was at work. Because all of a sudden, so I had the added benefit. I felt fantastic, right?
Yeah.
I had all these wonderful, answers, solutions. Things were just fixing themselves, and I just, all the negativity that was in around, because obviously I was going bankrupt. It was going it was in the papers and all this sort of thing, and all of this was going on. And of course, I felt absolutely fantastic because I developed the habit of gratitude, and this sounds like an amazing amount of work. But once you've got your mind to the point of you're almost in a gratitude, but you're almost there naturally, which basically it becomes nothing at all to do it. And so I did this, and then as I was doing this, I started to see these spaces appear in my mind, and I didn't know what they were. It was just moments in my mind where there was no thoughts at all. There was nothing. It was like I was in my mind and I could see thoughts wanting to come in, but I could just sort of hold my hands out and go, no, you're not allowed in now. And it was very weird. And then all of a sudden, I realised I didn't have to put any effort into holding them off. And I could just sit without anything. And then all of a sudden, the world just got brighter. the wind's got, smells got more vibrant. Everything just, it was like it's like I came out of a sleep, and it was just amazing. And that was No Mind, and so now I'd always loved the idea of meditation, but I didn't like the amount of time you had to put into it. And so by mistake, I'd gone and created this process that, with No Mind, in the end, you can literally, I can switch on No Mind in a fraction of a second, so I can still my mind completely in any situation in a fraction of a second. And No Mind is Satori, which is obviously the Japanese thing about going and meditating to get to No Mind. But of course, because I'd done all of this, I worked out how it looked in my mind and how to do it. So I didn't need to meditate for 20 minutes 5 times a week or anything like that. I could switch off my mind in a fraction of a second.
Man.
So of course, it was literally like hitting the restart button on a computer. It was like restart, you're back again. And it was amazing. And the more I practiced it, the better I got at it. And I'm now in a position where you I won't say perpetually, but over 99% of the time, I am in a state of, I have silence between thoughts. I do not have to put any thought into protecting my mind, because it's the noise ever comes in. It's like, oh, there's a noise there, because you can see it. The problem is when you've got all of this noise, you've got no time to even think about silencing it. So the trouble is, if you think, right, I want to go and build, I want to go and become successful, I want to get rich, I want to go and find the perfect partner, I want to do this or do that, you're trying to create from a mind that is being attacked all the time. So you're fighting a battle inside your mind, and you're going to go and try and create something. Well, good luck, because you're going to need it.
Wow.
But if you can silence it, you can go and create anything, because you've got nobody chucking rocks at you.
Oh, God. Okay, so here's what I know right now is that nobody wants to hear me talk. Nobody wants to hear me say anything.
Oh,
They just exactly. I'll let you drink some water. They just want to hear you talk, because that's it. What's great about what you're talking about, I mean, who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want that ability to reach that No Mind, for all the benefits, for everything you just said? And the beauty is what you're saying is, well, we can all do it. It's not like it isn't the Andy Shaw superpower. It is the superpower that we all have. And what you've been able to do brilliantly is teach people how to do it in a way that, a lot of people haven't. Now, look, we've been talking for a long time, and I want to be respectful of your time, but I am also very clear that people are going to want to know, how can they learn from you? Now, obviously, I've been talking, go get a bug-free mind. Go get it. Just get it. That's the answer, plain and simple. But for those who are still going, well, I don't know, so you've got an opportunity right now for people to kind of experience you without having to buy anything, but just buy the program. But if you've just released a program called Mastering the Law of Attraction that people can get by clicking the link below, and then through that process you'll also be into the Bug-Free Mind program. Now, so briefly, I want you to just tell people what's in that Mastering the Law of Attraction package, so they know what they're getting for free, and then I want to talk about the actual Bug-Free Mind program and what they can expect with that.
Yeah, it's. I decided people kept asking me about the law of attraction. I cover it in one chapter in A Bug-Free Mind, but it's one of my favourite subjects ever since I found out about it. I didn't know that I was good at it until I saw The Secret, and I went, well, I've been doing this stuff for years, right?
Yeah.
And that was, I watched you and everybody else in The Secret. I went, well, I've been doing this stuff for years. I'd never heard of it before then, right? And so I was just automatically good at it, and so I sat down and I'd always taught people how to manifest and that sort of thing. Like there's in the second book, I don't know if you've got to the second book yet, but in the second book I teach people a bit of manifesting and how to go and make, I get them to manifest a little lime green tea cup or something silly, and it's the stories of where people have got these things come up, and then I get them to manifest other little bits and pieces. In the Mastering the Law of Attraction, I get them to do a few little things, and there was a guy actually put a comment on the blog today. He says, I thought I'd manifest $50 and $500. He said they both showed up within 24 hours.
Outstanding.
Yeah, exactly. It's simple stuff. It's simple stuff. The problem is that with I know the problem is people get in their own way with using the law of attraction. And it's if you can learn to get out of your own way, it's like when I was saying, oh right, well I'm going to need this sort of person, that sort of person, that sort of thing. So I was in my own way. I didn't go, but it's going to be hard to find them or anything like that. But I doubt I can find them. But I doubt I can afford them or anything like that. I just went, oh, what do I want, right? And that was it. It was a freedom. It was like childlike. And so what I do is I try and give it to people in a way that is very, very simple, very easy, that instantly they can generate money from it. I'll be quite honest about it. The idea is I show them how to make money so that they go and buy the bug-free mind process, because you and I, know that that process is a way of life. It's not a book that you read and go, well, I'm going to put this down. It's a way of life. It's something you're picking up. You're reading a page a day. You're reading 5 minutes. You're listening to 5 minutes on the audio, or 15 minutes in the car, or something like that. That is a way of life. And the point isn't, the purpose isn't to get to the end of it. The purpose is to create the life you want, an enjoyable life you want. That's the purpose. And so I just, exactly as you said, right, I want to read this chapter again and again and again. We have people read my work usually multiple times, and that's because I designed it that way, because I thought, right, okay, how do I get these people the result they're looking for? Right, that's it. And my father taught me, he was a teacher, and he showed me how to teach so that everyone got it, not just the clever kids or something like that. The idea was that you taught it. It was taught in a way that everybody got it. And so that then there was maybe 1 or 2 people didn't get it, but then because there was a vast majority of people did, then the vast majority would help the 1 or 2 who didn't. Whereas the way to the small percentage, and of course most people are left on the sidelines. Whereas my dad said to me, he says, that's not the way to teach. You teach it so the majority gets it. So that's what I do. I do it with the Master of the Law of Protection.
Right. Well, you do it very well, and I've already, because I started sharing this a couple of days ago, and I'm already getting comments like on my Facebook page and in my Facebook group, is, oh, I got that mastering, it's awesome, you got to listen to it. I've already manifested things just like you said, like it happens like right away. So I mean, that's awesome. So obviously everybody wants to go grab that. Talk about the Bug-Free Mind program, because right now it's kind of this you're making it available. We got specials, discounts. It's the whole. Everybody's excited about it right now. So talk about what they can expect. Obviously, the education that we're talking about, and yes, I've got both books here. One is about creating the bug-free mind, and then the other one is implementing.
Yes.
And but talk about the program. When they get into the program, what can they expect?
It's instant results. But first thing is, I like to make sure that people get it. They instantly feel better. That's the first thing. So instantly you see results. The idea is every time you pick up, read a paragraph, or half a page at the most, you've had a result.
Yep.
Yeah. So would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah? So that was because the problem is if you're not getting the result, then we need things to be easy. We want to acquire this sort of knowledge and that sort of thing. It's got to be easy. So even though these are not thin books at all. The audios, I don't know how many hours there is, about 35 hours of audio or something like that. There's a huge amount in there, and it can be daunting to people. But it's not about what happens is it's as you do it and you create the habit of it. So on every page, it's teaching you to expect success, whereas before you've been doubting it. And so now your life just gets easier and easier, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. And I produced these in 2010, and when I wrote my first book before the program, and the only reason I was able to do that in under 20 hours was I didn't know it was impossible.
Right.
So with these books, I decided I'm having far too much fun. I want to write this nice and slowly. So I took 9 months to write it, not rush it, because as I learned with my mind, when I slowed my mind down, I got more done by doing less. So I thought, well, I wonder what that will do, right? And so I've practiced now not rushing at things, And of course, I teach people about the law of least effort in the book, and there's wonderful wisdom that comes from thousands of years ago that people just don't know how to apply. They get told, it's like the Chinese proverb, the journey is the reward, which is the truth. It's an undeniable truth. But if you don't know how to control your mind, then your journey could be an absolute nightmare. Right? But if you control your mind, then whatever happens in your life, it's wonderful. You get to enjoy the journey. So they teach so in your head, everything is connected. Everything is, I do this video called The Pond where all your thoughts in your head are connected. So you cannot, if you, let's say, you think, right, okay, I'm going to read a book on confidence building, and so you attempt, and let's say confidence building is clear, fresh water, and you pour that into your mind, it's all muddy with all these bad thoughts that are mixed up and all connected, and you pour that clean, fresh water in, well, that isn't going to make any difference to your mind, because your mind's already a mess, it's already muddy. The only way to clean it is you've got to clean all the water at once. So what I do is I go completely around, I fix, this I didn't realise when I wrote the book, I didn't realise I was creating the cure for depression. I just thought I was depression. I didn't know what it was really. I wrote it all down, and then people kept emailing me going, I've been clinically depressed for so many years, and I'm off my medication now, and I've never, I've quit my therapist, all this sort of thing. And it was, because I knew that I was teaching people how to go and get rich, have a wonderful life, find their perfect partner, do whatever they wanted to do. And I knew that you couldn't have depression in your mind and achieve that. So I taught people how to remove depression. And when people started emailing me, I realised I'd created this cure for depression. Right? Yeah. And it was with the soldiers' post-traumatic stress disorder, and a load of those guys started emailing me saying, this is really working for me. I'm not depressed. I'm not reliving the events, the trauma I went through anymore. And all of that started coming in. I was thinking, maybe I've done something a bit cleverer than I thought I'd done. It was the feedback from those guys. But
getting rid of worry, getting rid of depression. I mean, these are the things that debilitate society, and you've got the answer. And it's in a couple of books that are practical and not woo-woo at all. I mean, it's just, again, this is slam dunk. I don't have to. There's nothing to sell here, ladies and gentlemen. It's obvious. You have to get this education. I mean, how free would you feel if you're dealing? Because I would see that worry would very easily. If you became a chronic worrier, you're probably either in or on the road to depression. Right? Because your brain just is like, it's just totally working against you. So in this conversation, we've talked about a few things to help you look at worry differently and completely, you have the choice to eliminate it. Obviously, and I'm listening to this conversation going, okay, this is just like all his other books. We're going to have to watch this again and again and again, or just go get the books, and then you can, get really in depth and get this level of education. But there's such nuggets of gold in just the conversation we had and the examples that you have used in your own life. I think that people can probably put themselves in that, put themselves in your position in some way and say, wow, that would be great if I could look at life this way, if I could process problems this way, if I could have worry out of the equation, how much more resourceful and creative I would be. I mean, it doesn't really take, you don't have to be a genius to see the benefits of being able to to have your accurate thinking or however you describe the thinking. So, and what's true also is that no one has done this before. There's lots and lots of personal development books, and there's lots and lots of techniques. There's release techniques. I'm a proponent of a lot of them. Obviously, I teach the law of attraction. There's a lot of people out here, but most of it is about, it's the assumption that you'll take what you read, like you said, and you'll know how to use it. You'll know how to implement it. But the fact of the matter is that people don't know how to do that. Most people don't, and that's why this doesn't happen. I think you say early in the book that, by mastering this, you're going to get better at every program you take. Right. All of a sudden, all your programs will work.
That's right.
It's you read the testimonials for some great program you buy and it doesn't work for you. Well, this is why. It's how you're processing the information, and this is your key to being able to process that information on anything you want to take on. That's why it works with everything. It works with everything you want to come up to. That's why all of a sudden you become an instant and effortless manifester, because energetically there's not all this stuff saying you can't have it, you know, or how will you do it, and all of that. It's just a total, it's like you said, you can't pour that clear water into a muddy mind and expect clear water. You have to get the mud out first, and then you can pour in whatever you want, and it's going to work. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, so here's what I invite everybody to do, is to stop listening to me right now and get your free Mastering the Law of Attraction audio, get into the program, and then start writing me your cards and letters of thanks, because I know they're coming. I'm already getting them. I just like getting more. So get into this program so that I can be thanked later. That's basically all it's about. It's just all about me feeling good about sharing this information. Andy, thank you so much. You've given a ton of time. I think we've gone over the hour, but I just wanted people to really get a sense of how you approach things in a way, because what's wonderful is you go, I can think like that. I can get that. It's not, you know, you may not be able to do it right now, but you see the possibility. And
yeah,
so,
but this is what everybody should realise. One thing I'd like to say is this is how we're all designed to think. I just haven't lost touch with how we're designed to think. This is not. You know, I became fascinated when I realised I was wondering why people were successful and people didn't succeed, and then I suddenly realised that the successful people were the people who actually failed to be programmed by society. So the successful people that everybody says, oh, well, they're successful, but they're actually society's failures, right? But they've kept their natural success mindset.
I love it.
Yeah.
All
it does is put you back where you naturally are. That's all I'm doing. I don't, you know, when you say there's loads of new stuff in it, there's all I've done is I've taken the wisdom out of, you know, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, Lao Tzu, and the wisdom in the current sphere of personal development, and just distilled it in such a way that it's applicable. Yeah, and that's it. And then once you've got it, you go, oh, this is easy now. You know, and then everything else you pour in works.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's a good point. This isn't really new information, but it seems new to a lot of us because it's so radically different than how we've been taught to think. But you're right. It's our natural state. I've always said that we are natural creators. We're here to manifest. We're here to have our passions and see them come to fruition. And that's why we're here. Yes. And we have the ability, and we've always had it. However, we've lost touch with it because of, you know, of everything you've talked about. And now it's just a matter of returning to it. And this is the way. Okay. And I know I delivered on the promise. You all now know how to eliminate worry. We've talked, and you can get this and read chapter 6 over and over like I did too to go even more in depth, but just a couple of little processes that we talked about here. Next time you're feeling overwhelmed with worry, go back to these. How could this be better? You know, how could this be solved? Just that alone. And then just the acknowledgement that it is, in fact, a choice that you're making. If you're going down that path, it's a choice. And then using that exercise of trying to, of getting back in control of your mind. That whole 15 seconds of positive thought, it'll be frustrating at first. It took me quite a while, and I ended up landing on, when my daughter got married earlier this year, there was some time right before I walked her down the aisle. We're alone in this room, and I'm just watching her in her beauty, about to just walk into this brand new life, and I'm so just filled with pride. And when I held that thought, there was no negative place to go, right? So it was easy, and it made me realize, okay, well, if there's that one, then there's others, and there's others, and so I love the idea of writing down as many as you can so that you can go to it. That exercise alone, folks, is worth the whole price of any admission, and the time you've invested in this call and listening to Andy, because that will change your life, because it is all about taking back control of your thoughts, which is what this conversation is really all about. Anything you want to end with, Andy? I know I'm throwing you under the bus there. What are your final words of wisdom? People do that to me all the time.
As you go about your day, there's only one thing that you need to really consider. You should, no matter what happens, no matter what you do, whatever you get wrong, you should always be delighted with yourself, because there is no benefit in not being delighted with yourself. So that's all you have to do is just remember, yeah, oh right, I got that wrong. Well, I'm delighted with myself for noticing that I got it wrong. Yeah, So you always, there is, you know, my wife says to me, how can you be happy with yourself? You just got that wrong. I said, well, there's just no benefit in not being happy with myself. Therefore,
such beautifully simple wisdom. There's no benefit. That's the first thing in the whole worry. I mean, you're going, whatever you're worrying about is going to happen, or it's not, regardless. So what's the point of worrying about it? That's really the essence. It's hard to get your mind around because it's too stinking simple. You know,
if you look at the books, right? I've complicated it up to make it that thick, right?
Yeah.
Einstein was right. Einstein was right. Make everything as simple as possible, but not simpler. And if you make it too simple, then we think we know we've got something. We think we know something, but we don't actually know it because the level of knowing things. You know, as I cover in the Mastering the Law of Attraction. Actually, I went into that in a bit of detail there. But when you realise that knowing things, there's intellectually knowing something is the weakest level of all, and it's a very, very dangerous level of knowing something because you think you know it.
Yeah.
You know, and then you move up, and even living it as a way of life to a level, you know, you still don't know it yet because just because you know it today doesn't mean to say you know it tomorrow. So you have to be cautious because we are trained to think that when we know something, we don't think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Of course, that's very
yeah, and then we don't take action. There's a great whole section on that whole knowing thing in the book. So if you love aha moments, ladies and gentlemen, well, you're going to get your fill right here. I mean, every single page is like, you know, awesome. So again, thank you, Andy. Thank you all for watching and joining this webinar. I know if you'll just use any of this, it's going to have a major impact in your life. Get the Mastering the Law of Attraction audio so you can have Andy with you. Get the Bug-Free Mind so you can take this education and just absolutely change the very core foundation of your life in that the way that you think. It controls all the action you take and thus everything that happens to you. You just can't get a more valuable education. Thanks again, Andy Shaw, author of Creating a Bug-Free Mind and Using a Bug-Free Mind. Wonderful to talk to you. I could talk to you for hours and hours on tons of stuff, and so hopefully we can do something again sometime on maybe another subject of your game.
Definitely. Thank you very much for having me on, Bob. It's most appreciated.
Totally my pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Have an awesome, worry-free day.